welcome to Issues of the Day, where we discuss key issues in the news. I am Nana Daniji. Joining me today are Mr. Rashid Oniyangi, good morning,
Thank you, Nana.
and Mr. Demola Adeniran. Hello.
Thank you very much, Nana. How are you?
Headlines for today: former Kano LG chairman returns to tailoring after leaving office. Appeal court gives ADC a major legal victory. Southern and Middle Belt leaders demand governors control state police. The former local government chairman in Kano State has returned to his tailoring business after leaving office. Gali Abdullah said public office is temporary and that every politician should have profession outside politics. Now, it's very rare for us to see politicians leave political offices and then go back to what they were initially doing before. I guess this is why this is making news. But why do should I say many Nigerians become wealthy, too wealthy to go back to their initial professions after entering politics?
I think they actually do go back to their profession. It's just not pronounced, or maybe the reason why this particular one made the news was because he went to tailoring, which the common man could identify with. If you remember too, the former governor of Lagos and works and housing minister during Buhari's first term, and the power works and housing, and then works and housing for his second term, Raji Fashola, he went back to the courtroom. Went back to his profession as a lawyer. He even went to court in one of the cases that newspaper picked him up. But the problem we have is that generally, politicians have made politics a mainstay to the point whereby when they return to their day's job, they are still politicking. It's like one leg in, yes, one leg in, one leg out. But like I said, it's not really a news to me. The only why is making national headline is because the man, like I said, was an LG chairman. He was not a governor. He was not a minister. He was not a president. He went back to tailoring, which the common man can identify with. And if you remember too, some of them, most times, they usually go back to school. Like former President Obasanjo, when he completed his term, he went back to Open University to study, and I think he has a PhD in theology or something. So it's not really a problem for me, but this is not news to me. But the only news is that he went to tailoring, which the common man can identify with.
Okay, so should public office holders be investigated if they cannot return to like a legitimate source of income after politics?
There's nothing stopping them from making politics a mainstay of their life. If they want to sit down politics completely, then that's their choice. As long as they've not betrayed public trust or they've not been found guilty of corruption, what are we investigating them for? So for me, it's just we would like them to have other jobs other than politics because they have been bad at politics, in administering policies and governance on Nigerians. Maybe that's the major reason why Nigerians are angry at them, that you go there and you pilfer, or you go there and you misgovern us. So for that reason, you are bad at it. Go and do what your day's calling is. But in general terms, if they've not stolen money or betrayed public trust, I don't see them.
Mr. Onyegi, you're quiet. So let me take a few things from what what he said, because he says if they've not been should I say, said that they have actually stolen money, you cannot blame them for actually stealing the money. But
no, I didn't say that you can't blame them. No. What I said, sorry. What I said was that you asked if we should investigate them for not returning back to their day's calling.
Yes.
After their political term. And I said, if they want to make politics their mainstay, as long as they've not breached any law while they were in office, what are you probing them for?
Going back to my question, don't they have to be investigated before you know if they have breached?
I have a far more cynical view of this
let's hear it.
move. Once a politician, always a politician. And he is, after all, an ex-local government chairman who hopes to advance in his career as a politician. Democracy is a dialectical engagement between the politician and the people who elect him into office. So I would like to think that this is just one of those strategies that, okay, if I go back to my old profession, it is quite possible that if I say I'm coming out to be a member of the House of Rep, the people who are voting for me as a local government chairman will come out en masse, say, oh, this man is a humble man, he's one of us, and stuff like that. In any case, how many tailoring business has he actually encouraged while he was local government chairman? Has he built a textile factory in which to empower his local constituents while he was a tailor? So I don't deny that issue. How much, even let's look at his tailoring business. Has he actually improved it while he was a politician? So going back to the tailoring business, if it is not to improve it and to ensure that tailoring business becomes a model that everybody will want to now go into as a result of his this thing, then there's why did he leave tailoring to go into politics in the first place if he didn't want to serve his people? So I think the guy ran out of options. It's the only thing he can do if he's not doing politics. So he decided to go back to it. It's a choice. Yes, I agree. But I don't even think that kind of thing should make the news. Yes, it is nice to encourage people to go back to their first calling when they become politicians. But you have a purpose for going into politics. And that purpose is not something temporary. That's something that goes beyond even what you are doing before. So if you now leave the office and you are looking for something else to do, continue to help the people. If you haven't done anything as a tailor in improving the lives of the people while you are local government chairman, then it really doesn't bother me if you go back to it or not. You are no
So
longer the chairman.
it was just
It's a
a
strategy.
fallout.
It's
He just fell out with it.
On the
strategy.
on the flip side again, Mr. Onyogi, what I'm thinking is, what if he went to serve as LD chairman and he fleeced the public purse and he used the money to go and re-establish his tailoring business?
So we might not know
So
until
that's
we
what I'm
ask.
saying.
Of
That's what I'm
course.
saying. That
Yes.
so we shouldn't just take anything. We like.
Well, I'm interested in what he did for tailors when he was local government chairman.
Doesn't
I think
necessarily have to
If
be
he
go
loved
back to
tailoring
that.
so much,
yes,
We will definitely go back to that.
it shouldn't be a case. We like Cinderella stories in Nigeria where aesthetically we like the flamboyance, but for public servants we like people who are humble and low-trodden, who are frugal. And I don't know, it's a bit of contradiction for me. Generally, as Nigerians, we like the flamboyance, we like the materialism and stuff like that. But when it comes to people who will lead us in public office, we want them to be humble, to be frugal, not to steal our money. I can't marry those two personalities.
We'll definitely find out the rest. Thank you so much. Now, on our second story, the Court of Appeal has set aside a lower court ruling against the African Democratic Congress, saying the court lacked jurisdiction. The decision removes a legal hurdle for the 2027 elections. Now, let's start with Mr. Onyonyi. This is your love. Are court cases becoming political tools ahead of elections now? Because we've been having a lot of these court cases coming up before the elections. Are they becoming tools of before the election comes up?
Yes, I have to sit up and talk about this. It's quite interesting. And some I want to see it as a part of the politicking that's going on. When this man, that's Justice Peter Lifu, came out and gave an order that INEC should deregister certain parties. ADC is just one of them. It's not the only one. Everybody went up in an uproar. And of course, APC, and the parties involved said these machinations of the executive and all that, and yes, now that the appeal courts have made a statement, especially statement regarding the fact that they previously told these guys to stand down on those judgments, he did it in defiance of an appeals court's order, a court that is a superior jurisdiction, which is rightly so when they characterize this as judicial rascality. It also points out to a lot of if you can call it insubordination to a higher authority, it is. And that creates the impression that this judge was being manipulated. And you can't rule that out. Though it is something that needs to be proven. And if it is proven that this man was actually influenced by outside parties, I think the only thing that should be done in his case is to apply disciplinary actions. I don't know what applies in the judiciary as to the kind of disciplinary action they can apply. You can't imagine that judges who just got houses built for them in Abuja and all this, so they shouldn't have anybody manipulating them and still getting themselves into this kind of mess, which it should not really happen with. But then there may be legal issues involved. We are not lawyers, we are not judges, so there may be legal issues involved that will trigger that kind of action, which appears on the surface to be. And there have been cases like this in the past. This is not the first case.
Hopefully, this will be the scapegoat.
In which judges were ordering, were giving contradictory orders that threw the whole judiciary into disrepute. So you can't rule out the fact that judges are also Nigerians. And if we say there's a particular malaise that affects Nigerians, it's very, very difficult to say that this won't affect judges. After all, policemen are collecting money, are extorting money from a very high official that's likely to try them for corruption. So it's ironic, but I'm glad that the appeals court stood up and did the right thing. At least this will create a level playing field, and there won't be these speculations that judges have been manipulated again. But going forward, I think the National Judicial Council need to
do
get
better.
Really, really tough.
From that, what you just said now, Mr. Demola, can Nigerians trust the judiciary's, should I say, neutral? Can they trust them ahead of 2027 elections?
They should. That's the only solution to their any political imbroglio in Nigeria that we experience. The court still remains, based on the constitution, the place we run to whenever we have
such
disputes
issues,
in our political terrain. But the key thing is it is a process, and that process is you go to lower courts, and if you don't get satisfactory,
go to a higher
you
one.
go to higher courts, and then they advance to the Supreme Court, where whatever they say is the final, because there has to be a end to disputes.
Yes.
And like we see, what gives confidence in democracy is not only for the lower courts to be getting it right all the time. You understand what I'm trying to say? There are rooms for error, and there are rooms to correct that error, and that's what the judiciary is for: the lower courts, the appeal court, appellate courts, and then the Supreme Court. So this is an example of it. It is part of democracy working, that you take a case to a place, you didn't get satisfactory judgment, and then you go to the higher court, look at the evidence available, and then rule in your favor. So that's what it is about. However, where I'm going is this: the fact that these are the opposition parties who got these favorable judgments. If the rules were now reversed for the party in government, we shouldn't say the judiciary aborts. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir.
So right now, it favors the opposition, and democracy is working. So when it favors the party in government too,
we shouldn't complain
because this is just the process going.
Okay, thank you very much. For more details, subscribe to Citizen TV on Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter and TikTok. The Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum has called for state police, insisting governors should appoint and remove state commissioners of police. The group also renewed calls for constitutional reforms and said the presidency should remain in the South after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's first term. Where do I start from? Mr. Demola, would state police improve security or simply give governors more political power?
Both. The powers of the governors in Nigeria is like the powers of the president, a mini president. They're like emperors. The few times we've seen the governors at loggerheads with the center in Nigeria during Obasanjo's government, it impugned on the constitution to do his will, which the constitution frowned about. And so if you look at how it has cascaded down from that period till now, you see that most presidents allow governors to do whatever they want to do because they don't want to encroach on powers. However, this is where I always advocate to Nigerians that while we look at purely at the president to help us solve problems, we should also put pressure on our governors because they actually have powers to do good and give us good governance. So if we have state police, in the hands of governors and they want to use it to serve the people, of course we'll get the best of it. However, if the governors want to use it to serve themselves, we'll get the bad side. That's just as simple as that.
Mr. Onyagi, we've had, I think in some states there are, should I say officials or police that the state is already using. E.g., I think Kaduna, right? Do you think the other states would also adapt such, should I say, such, what's the word I'm supposed to use?
From what we know already from the Police Act that was passed as a proposed constitutional amendment, the governors will indeed have
more
if you
power.
want to call it supreme power over, but there are guardrails, and this power comes with caveats. And when the power is abused, the federal government still have the latitude to step in and take over. From what I have seen or read about the proposed law, which is now in the hands of the various states for their state assemblies to ratify it. Once that is ratified, it goes back to the National Assembly and it is passed as a constitutional amendment and it becomes effective at such a time that the bill says it will take effect. I don't expect it to take effect before the elections. It will have to be after the elections, but it's a good thing. It brings security closer to the people and it brings responsibilities, for lack of it, on the local, they say all politics are local. So the responsibility for security should be with the governors of the states in which the security is required, and they will be able to plan better based on the exigencies of their states and not because federal government is forcing anything on them. And I think it's a better this thing. We've had it before in some fashion, and even if people believe it won't work, even if people believe that it will concentrate too much power in the hands of governors to use this power to abuse their political opponents or to abuse people's rights, once the guardrails becomes quite effective, I think it will leave the federal government with also less to do, and it will give it a far more supervisory role in controlling how this power is exercised. And then it will also firm up the judiciary in terms of protection of fundamental rights, so that nobody gets victimized by any governor because of power. There will certainly be abuses,
of course, yes.
So we should be ready for it, and we should activate all the guardrails when those abuses occur. But apart from that, I think the demand of the elders are in order, and but it doesn't need saying. The bill is already out for ratification. Yes. They should be concentrating more on the elders, on the state, on the governors of the states that are within their own jurisdiction, instead of coming to the president to say they support state police. It's no longer a question of support. It's a question of going to your governors and saying, please, you better make sure that thing passes your state of assembly. Otherwise, there'll be trouble.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to say a thank you to my guest. Thank you, Mr. Demola Adenra and Mr. Onyongi. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This is Citizen TV. I am Nana Deneji. Have a lovely day.